Hi, it's Morgan from thecheekyhomemaker.com, where we cook, clean, pay the bills, and journey through motherhood together. Today we're going to be making my no recipe lasagna. So what that means is we won't be following a specific recipe. Basically, we have the main components of lasagna, and I was planning on throwing this together for dinner tonight. I was not originally planning on filming a tutorial on it, but I realized, a lot of people are intimidated by making lasagna, and to me, it's one of the easiest meals that you can throw together and throw in the oven. Now, normally, what I prefer to do is make 2 at a time. So it's really easy when you're making one lasagna to just double the recipe and make 2. Normally, I will have one that I'm doing in my nice Pyrex pan, and then I'll have an aluminum disposable pan that I'll make a second lasagna in. However, I'm a little bit low on the sauce today, and I didn't buy the aluminum pan in advance. I don't even have Parmesan cheese, which I normally use. But this lasagna is still going to come out great, and I'll show you how we throw it together. So the first thing is the sauce. Now, it's really easy at the grocery store these days to just buy a pre-made jarred sauce. I always read the ingredients. I try to find something with no sugar in it because personally I don't think you need to add sugar into a sauce to make it good. And I try to find as many things as possible without sugar. But I happen to have some sauce in my freezer that I made from my grandma's recipe. So I'll show you how I package that. I like to put it in a mason jar, and the top is labeled Gima for grandma, so I know exactly what's inside and I know whose sauce it is. My mom has a great recipe too. So we're going to be using some of that sauce that I thawed out, and I've pre-cooked my lasagna noodles here. Now, the important thing with these is, first of all, you want them to be al dente, meaning with a bite. So that means that you want them to be soft. You don't want any hard spots in the noodles, but you definitely don't want them to be exactly where you want to eat them, because if they're cooked to where you want to eat them now, they will get overcooked when you put them in the oven with all of the other ingredients in the lasagna. The other thing is these guys get super sticky. So I always say, I don't want to waste wax paper. I don't think that it's necessary. I'm just going to kind of try to lay them out, and I'll put a little olive oil between them. Every time that I do that, my lasagna noodles are completely stuck together, and I'm trying to pull them apart, and they kind of look a mess. So this time, I went ahead and used all the wax paper. I don't know what I'm saving it for. There's no situation that I'm suddenly like, oh, now's the time to use the wax paper. So going ahead and using it. This is some grated mozzarella cheese. Honestly, sliced is easier to use than grated.
I'm not going to eat any.
You can have a little bite. Just Daddy bought a slightly smaller container or package than I wanted before I shredded it. So that's why I've been possessive over the cheese, my love. Anyway, it's easier to do sliced when you're doing a lasagna, but I have grated. So I like to grate my own cheeses in my food processor. It is so quick and so easy. It's less expensive, and that way there's no preservatives or anti-caking stuff on them, which, who knows what that stuff really is. I'm sure there's people out there. If you do, comment below. Let me know what that stuff really is. I just figure if it's a name that doesn't sound like a natural ingredient, then it's probably something that we're best not eating. Okay, that's enough for now, babe.
I'm just touching it.
Okay, by the way, this is my daughter Charlotte. She is 4, and she is a great little helper. She loves cooking, so that's why she's helping me out today. Now, the other ingredient we have is ricotta cheese. They sell it at the grocery store. I don't love the stuff at the grocery store. I get this from a little Italian deli down the street. This stuff is great if you just add a little bit of vanilla and some sugar. And you don't have to have the sugar. I like it. And whip it up and put some berries in it. It's an amazing breakfast, full of protein, really yummy. And normally I do Parmesan cheese. I don't have any today, so we're not doing it, but I'll let you know where it goes in the recipe. I have the ground beef here, and this is 1 1/3 pounds because I buy it in packages that size at Costco. You could use a pound. Honestly, you probably only need 1/2 to 3/4 pound. This will be a pretty meat-heavy lasagna, but that's what I had. So when I cooked the ground beef, I used some salt and pepper, some garlic powder and onion powder, and that's the base for most things that I cook. And then I also added a little bit of oregano and some basil. You don't want to go too heavy on the oregano because it does have a very distinctive flavor, and I already have my sauce seasoned the way that I like it, so you don't want to change that much. And then the last thing that I added that I don't always add is I put just a little bit of red wine at the end. So I didn't measure any of this. You just kind of do it to taste. You can taste as you go. And just cook it until it is basically done. And go ahead and taste, babe. What do you think? You like it? Okay, good. Is there something you want to say to the camera now? Go ahead.
And a a lot of meat, so it's really heavy.
It's really, yeah, it's going to be heavy on the meat, huh?
So, because there's a lot.
That's true.
So.
All right, now we're going to start layering up our lasagna, okay, kiddo? I'm going to do the sauce since we're at the kitchen table here.
Can I help?
Yes, you're going to help with the noodles and the cheese and everything. Now, you always want to start with your sauce at the bottom because that keeps things from sticking too hard to the bottom of the pan when you're trying to actually serve your lasagna. The next thing we're going to put in is the al dente lasagna pasta noodles. These are the perfect size for a 9x13 baking dish, so that's what we're using. Do you want to put these in, babe? Okay, put it in, scoot it all the way over to the edge. Try to keep it nice and flat. So for the structure of the lasagna, I overlap my noodles just a tiny bit. And that helps when you're slicing it, that it actually slices instead of just becoming a soupy mess. The next thing we're gonna do is add the ricotta. Do you wanna taste it?
Yeah.
What do you think? Is it good?
Nah.
No, you don't like it on its own?
Nah.
Okay.
Nah.
Next we're gonna add some mozzarella. The mozzarella kind of acts as the glue, so I like to use a fair amount of it.
Can I eat a little of it?
Sure.
Nom, nom, nom.
Next we're gonna add some ground beef.
I'll eat a little as we go.
Next we're gonna add a little bit more sauce.
Oh. And I love you.
Oh, I love you too. Now you don't want to go too heavy on the sauce because that'll make it kind of soupy and it'll make it slip around when you go to cut it. So now we just repeat until we reach the top of the pan. I do like to kind of push the noodles down just to kind of get an even layer, let the ricotta cheese and the meat all meld together and the mozzarella. All right, so I've reached a point in my pan where I don't feel like I can do a full another layer without it coming out the top. So now I'm going to finish the lasagna, and we finish it by just doing some sauce and then some mozzarella and Parmesan cheese. You would also add a layer of Parmesan into each of the repeating layers if you had some. I, again, do not today. So I'm going to go ahead and put some sauce and just put some mozzarella over the top, and that'll be the finish for this. The entire top of your pasta is covered with sauce. You will use more sauce on your top layer than you do on the interior layers or the bottom layer. And that's because, again, you don't want that pasta to burn. Now, this lasagna is just for our family. If we were cooking for anybody other than ourselves, I would be very strict on making sure that my sweet daughter here was not licking her fingers while cooking. It's not a good habit to get into, but she's very excited about this mozzarella cheese. If you wanted to put some vegetables in here, that would be really easy also. What I like to do is saute them just a little bit on the stove top so that they start softening before I put them in, because otherwise they might not get cooked all the way through. However, you want to leave them just a little underdone, just like the lasagna noodles, so that as it bakes in the oven, they don't get completely overdone and mushy. All right, so that's our assembled lasagna. Now, we just bake this according to whatever the box the lasagna noodles came in says. So we're going to go ahead and follow that, and I will show you what it looks like when it comes out of the oven. The other thing is we generally have a fair amount of pasta noodles left over. Today we have a little bit of ground beef. We have both kinds of cheese. So something you could do with these is spread some ricotta, sprinkle some mozzarella, put some ground beef in, roll them up, and then cover the top with sauce. And that could be something that you put in the freezer for a later date. The lasagna rolls, you can just pop those in the oven and bake them just like you would a lasagna. But you don't need a certain amount to make sure you can layer all the way up because they're kind of individual. Hey guys, I just served my lasagna to my family and I realized I forgot to mention something. The reason this is a no recipe lasagna is because you do not need to have the ingredients that I have. If you have ground beef like I do, great. If you happen to have shredded chicken, great. If you have some ground turkey, great. Sometimes I make pork when I am cooking my sauce. I cook it in the sauce. That's delicious in there. Cut up meatballs are delicious. Italian sausage sliced is in there, or crumbled Italian sausage with no casing is also great. If you don't have any of the Italian cheeses, you happen to have some Colby Jack on hand, give it a try. You know, there's nothing wrong with that at all. That's why it's a no recipe lasagna. It's basically just throw in what you have, and it's kind of hard to mess up. So it might not be authentic Italian perfect lasagna, but I bet it'll still be really good. So have fun with it. I hope you enjoy your no recipe lasagna, and I hope it motivates you to throw one together. They really are a lot easier than people make them out to be. If you're new here, we should be friends, so don't forget to like my video and subscribe to my page. You can also find me at thecheekyhomemaker.com, as well as on Pinterest, Instagram, and Facebook at The Cheeky Homemaker. See you soon. Bye.